Hey everybody, it's Dan. Hope you're well today. So we're going to mix it up a little bit, and in today's podcast we're just going to break it down into different sections, just roll with it, see what happens. And what it means is that we can pull out each bit of audio and end up with 4 different podcasts, which sounds really good. And also, because I've been so slack in actually doing podcasts, we thought what we would do is, in between CrossFit, which I've just completed, and having a shower, so I might whiff a bit, I figured, let's do a podcast there. Let's see how that goes. Let's see if that's going to force me into doing more podcasts, because we get loads of emails and messages saying, I listened to your podcast, I liked this one, or I didn't like that one, or whatever, right? And we need to do more of them, obviously. And that kind of drives me on to the first point, which is your job as a CEO, or as a business owner, or as a team leader, or as a manager, but more as a business owner, an entrepreneur, as somebody who is running a business in some way, some shape, form or other. Not necessarily a team, but your number one job, as far as I'm concerned, your number one job should be to communicate. And so your level of communication will determine the level of success that you're going to have in your organisation. So, for example, if you're not very good at going live and doing podcasting, like me, this is our 8th year podcasting, and do you know what, sometimes it's like, I think we've said everything that needs to be said, and obviously we haven't. There's always more to be said, there's always news going on, isn't there? But our job should be to communicate, and the reason why you should be communicating, by the way, this is about communicating externally, we're also going to talk about communicating internally as well, but you should be communicating externally so that your customers can see you, your prospects can see you, your potential customers, for you to build up like likability, equity, which is, you know, every time you go live, the more people watch you, the more people are either going to make it, well, they're going to make a decision on you, they're going to hate you, or they're going to love you. Either one is fine, as we've said so many times. If they love you, awesome, they're going to do business. If they hate you, awesome, they're never going to waste your time on a strategy session or talking to you even, right? They're just never going to waste that time. So either one of those is really good. But your job should be to communicate, and you should also be communicating the benefits of using your business, your service and your product, your benefits of being a connection, your benefits of networking with the person doing the podcast. This is what your job should be as a CEO. And what happens is that most business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, call them whatever you want, I use CEO because it fits in a little box. What happens is most of them get into, oh no, I need to send this email, and now I need to do this website, and now I need to dig this ditch, and now I need to plumb or bricklay or plaster a wall, or I need to move some tenants in and move some tenants out. Whatever it happens to be, the CEO, the business owner, the entrepreneur ends up doing what I would call, and it's an awful term, but we would call it the grunt work, right? You can pay anyone with arms and legs, teach them how to bricklay and lay some bricks. Now, by the way, bricklayers, I doubt there are any bricklayers listening to this, but don't have a go, it's just an example. Like, you can apportion certain tasks to certain people to get them off your desk. So like one of the things that we're doing in my business in order to communicate more is we're hiring content writers, and also we've got guest bloggers, but we've also got some content writers that are going to be writing some content for us based on our values and our principles and what's going on in the news and so on. So we're communicating facts and figures and information out there, and that will drive traffic back to the website. So it's not just about driving traffic back to the website, it's also about you building this likability equity that we talked about before. But most business owners get stuck in the business. And when you're getting stuck in a business, how on earth are you supposed to expand? How do you recruit people? How do you double your revenue if it's you doing all the delivery on all the work that you're doing? It's just really difficult to do. And so your job should be to communicate, make more sales, recruit more people, and communicate even more. And you should be at the top of that tree in terms of communicating to your potential customers. And in fact, all you should be doing all day, every day, is communicating. And the communication, like I say, isn't just about external, me to, you know, potential customers. This is also about you communicating to your internal team. So like, we've got a very strict structure in my business, and we have content coordinators, and then below the content coordinators we've got all the people that do all the work, right? So my communication normally, sometimes it goes to the workers, but normally it goes to the content coordinators. I make sure that they're all on the same page and they understand what we're doing and why we do certain things in a certain way. And then their job is then to communicate that over to the team members. And often the team members don't actually need to do it. Our team members are very, very good, by the way. But they don't need to know why we're doing a certain thing on a certain day and so on. They just need to do the work to the best of their ability and to do a very good job, which they do, by the way. We're very lucky to have such a talented team of video editors and graphic designers and copywriters and so on. But our content coordinators, my job should be to ensure that those content coordinators are all on the same sheet, so they all understand, what is Dan doing next? Why is he doing that, the crazy old fool? They need to understand what that is. Now, I'm also not saying that you should have to explain yourself to everybody, because most people won't get what you're doing, right? I do certain stuff and people are like, oh, that won't work. Won't it? No, that won't work. Okay, watch. And there you go, it's worked. It's like, I don't have to explain myself to people, but in order to bring people along the journey, I do need to communicate what the plan is, why we're doing certain things. But I don't have to go all the way down that rabbit hole of explaining everything, because some of it is just like, just trust me on this. And that should scare you. It scares the hell out of me. Anyway, so if that's your job as a CEO, it's just communication all the way through. So, property, Section 24. First of all, if you don't know what Section 24 is, let me ask you the question, and then I'll explain what Section 24 is. So, should Section 24 be reversed? So, Section 24 is basically where, in the olden days, going back just 5 years ago, in fact, you were able to offset your interest-only aspect of your mortgage against your rent. So, if you were bringing in £1,000 a month in rent, and you had £600 a month in interest-only mortgages, your profit, obviously, anyone can work this out. Your profit is £400. Now, Section 24, no, your profit is £1,000. What? We've got this allowable interest expense against the mortgage, which allows us to create the business in the first... Oh, no, you can't offset that. Oh, but I can offset a car that I've got a loan against. Yeah. But I can't offset the actual thing that creates a business. It's just the most stupid bit of legislation. And here we are, 5 years on. They never listened to a word that we said. We said rents would go up. Rents have gone up. We said homelessness would increase. Homelessness would increase. We said the stress around and anxiety around tenants and what they're doing, not being able to find a property because many landlords are going to leave. 50,000 landlords have left the industry since 2019. Today is 2023. That's under 4 years, 50,000 landlords. That's 12,500 landlords. Call it 1,000 landlords per large city. Now imagine that. Each landlord, not all of them will have one property. Some will have 2, some will have 3, some will have 8. They've left. Right? So, what? 20,000 properties removed from the rental market in Leeds, let's just say? Do you think that might push rents up? Do you think that might cause tenants some anxiety? Of course it bloody well does. Now, I've got into arguments with people and go, oh no, it doesn't make a blind bit of difference, that Section 24. Of course it does, you muppet. How can it not make a difference? Now, if I want to make £400 profit on that, okay, like this is not rocket science, folks. On that £400, if I want to make that as profit, I need to add it onto the £1,000. In order to make the same level of money, I need to increase the rent so that I'm not losing out. And then you get people going, oh, well, landlords, we make too much money, you don't do anything, you should get a proper job. I got a proper job looking after you muppets. Bloody tenants shitting on walls and cannabis factories and not paying rent and disappearing and trashing the house. We spent £35,000 last year on a house refurb that a DSS tenant trashed. Do you think there might be a reason why we don't take DSS tenants? Of course, you're not allowed to say that. But all our tenants have to be professional tenants, you see. They all need to be in full-time work in order, 1, to satisfy a mortgage and 2, to pass references. So we'll accept anybody, but you need to be in full-time work, to pass referencing. I don't care. Like, I'm not being dictated to when we spent £35,000 repairing properties. And there's definitely an increase in damages and dickhead tenants when you're dealing with that level of a market. There just is. Compared that with the heart surgeon in one of my flats right now. Never hear from him. Too busy working 60-hour weeks. But that Section 24 has obviously impacted so many landlords. They've decided to leave, and also pushing rents up. Something wrong. So I saw a poll on LinkedIn just before I came live, and it said, should Section 24 be reversed? And that's why I thought, that's a good one to talk about. 23% of people said no. 23% of people. Now, I also spoke to someone who works for the Roundtree Foundation, I think it is. They're experts on poverty. And I said to him, you know this is Section 24? And he's like, no, what? I'm like, Section 24? You do know what Section 24 is? He said, yeah, I know what Section 24 is. And then he said, I actually think we should tax landlords more. This is a guy who works in a poverty charity, complaining, by the way. See, I'm speechless. Complaining about rents increasing, but thinks you should tax landlords more. The level of disconnected thinking, it's so down here. I can't even come down to that level to even have a conversation with them, because the level of thinking, and it's not even that they're thinking, it's the level of hatred of landlords that pushes people to this level of thinking. Now, the other one that really winds people up is when you say something like, yeah, all these empty homes, it is disgusting, you're absolutely right. What they should do is give an interest-free loan, or a loan of very low interest, 10%, 15, 20,000 pounds, to go in, refurb that house, and they have to give it to a DSS tenant until the loan is repaid and the house is brought back and given back to you in the same standard it was finished at when the refurb was done. Oh, no, we don't want to do that. I thought you wanted to solve homelessness. Yeah, we do. But I'm not that fussed about solving homelessness if it's going to help a landlord. So let me get this right. You'd rather have a homeless family than help Bob the landlord, who's been struggling because of Section 24 to refurb this house that another DSS tenant has ruined. You would much rather have this family homeless than give a low interest. You're still making money on this money, right? 10%. But you're now allowing this landlord to bring this property. No, we don't want to do that. There's a conversation that needs to be had around this, and it's not being had. And I sit here on my ivory tower, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is nuts. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Okay. Should you pay more for healthcare? So obviously, the Tories are out ruining the NHS as fast as possible. Now, you might not agree with that. In which case, lobotomies are available privately. So the question is, should you pay more for your healthcare? So let's just clarify a few things here. It's a good old Dan rant this morning. Let's just clarify a few things here. First of all, we already pay for healthcare. I saw something last week and it was talking about benefits. And the government minister was saying, the UK is paying out more benefits than ever before. And what he was actually saying was, he was talking about pensions. Pensions, mate, are not benefits. Pensions, people have paid in through SERPs, State Earning Related Pension Schemes, SERPs, right? We know this. That's not a benefit. You've paid into that. So including it in the benefits. But this is what the Tories do. They mix and muddle, and they're like witches round a cauldron trying to just mix up as many things as possible to distract people from the fact that they've ruined the healthcare. An 18-hour wait for an 83-year-old man who'd broken his hip is not acceptable in my world, right? And this is not that the NHS is bad. It's that the NHS is vastly underfunded. Are there too many managers in there? Possibly, right? But should we be paying more for healthcare? Now, I've got a couple of points on this. First of all, if you can pay for your own healthcare, I believe you should pay for your own healthcare for a couple of reasons. One is that, you can get care faster. But more importantly, it takes more pressure off the NHS. And so I think, if you can afford it, you should be able to do that. But I think healthcare is a universal right. I think everybody should be able to get access to a same level of healthcare. Now, by the way, there is and I think this for private schools as well, there is a concept which I'm open to, which is there should be no private healthcare. Everybody should have the same healthcare, because if everybody had the same healthcare, our healthcare would be the best on the planet. And when people go, NHS, best in the world, it really isn't. We live in Spain. We've been in and out of A&E from parking the car and locking the door, going in, being seen by a doctor or two, coming back out in less than 45 minutes. When people say NHS, best in the world, well, have you used any of the others? Spain's NHS is is superior in many, many ways. But I kind of like this idea that we don't have any private healthcare. We don't have any schools. Everybody has the same healthcare and the same schoolage, which means that if we are the people who are going to Eton that are running this country and ruining this country, if those people have to go to your local comprehensive in Croydon, right, or Leeds, do you think those schools are going to, do you think the government's going to increase the level of money available and increase the availability of good quality teaching staff and make it easier for those people? Of course they are. Of course, it goes without saying. So I'm kind of like, actually, how about we have no private healthcare? Everybody has access to exactly the same thing. Let's roll that out for 10 years and let's just see if that works. Now, I've got a feeling it probably will. I see this American model coming in, and I hear this stuff about $193,000 to have a baby in America, whatever it is. I've probably got that wrong. But even if it's $100,000, it's definitely up there. Anaesthetist is like $22,000, whatever it is. I shudder when I see that. I don't want 83-year-old Jimbo lying on a floor with a broken hip because it's for 18 hours because there's no ambulances available for him. Granted, we've had a pandemic and we've got people in ambulances and there's been a backlog for that. Well, according to the British press, there is no pandemic anymore. That's over with. So when are we going to catch up? I just don't know where we go from here with our healthcare, and it scares the living bejeebies out of me. And it scares the living bejeebies out of me because from a personal point of view, my mum and dad still live in the UK, and I've got some kids who live in the UK, and I've even got a granddaughter. I know I don't look it. I'm still a granddad. I've got a granddaughter who lives in the UK, and it scares the living crap out of me that this is the level. If my mum and dad falls, depending where you are, it's a 12-hour wait on the floor. It just scares the living heck out of me. And so we definitely need a change. And then finally, I signed up for the Hyrox event. Now, if you don't know what a Hyrox event is, it's a fitness event. I've signed up for it in 6 weeks' time in Barcelona. Obviously, I've been working out for quite some time now with CrossFit. We're coming up to about 9 months. We've got another 3 months. Another 10 months we've been doing. Got another 2 months, and then we'll have been doing CrossFit for a year since April. And that's changed me in so many ways. And so I figured, let's go do a Hyrox event. But first of all, let's show you, in fact, what a Hyrox event actually is. And I can actually share my second screen. Here we go. Transition over to that. So this is the Hyrox event. So first of all, you've got what's called a ski erg. So let me tell you, actually, first of all, in fact, can we make this bigger? There we go. You start off with a 1 kilometre run. That's nice. And then you do number 1, which is a ski erg. It's that thing that you pull down. You do that for 1,000 metres. Now, I'd never done that until yesterday. I did my first one, 1,000 metres. I actually found it really easy. Obviously, it's challenging on the arms and shoulders, but you get into rhythm. That's fairly fine, to be honest. I'm quite surprised about that. The next one then, you run again. So you run, you do the ski erg, and so there's a 1 kilometre run in between each one of these. So you run, you do a ski erg, then you run, and then you do a sled push, and I think for men it's 120 kilos. Now, where I am, there are no sled pushes. I'm signed up at the CrossFit gym, and I'm signed up at another gym as well. They don't have a sled at either of them. And I spoke to the CrossFit guys, and they're going to make me up a makeshift sled so I can practice. So I think it's just 50 metres, but I thought it was further than that. Sled push, and then you run a kilometre, and then a sled pull, and then you run a kilometre, and then you do these burpee broad jumps, which are like burpees, but you're jumping forward, and that's 80 metres. Then we do, you can't see it down here, let me make that smaller so you can see it. There we go. Well, you still can't. Oh, I've got it here. Then you do the burpee broad jumps here. So that's interesting. Then you do the 1 kilometre run. Then you do the rowing again. Let me make this bigger because you don't need to see that. Then you do the rowing. The rowing's 1,000 metres. I rowed 1,000 metres yesterday. That was all right, to be honest. A 200-metre farmer's carry is with 24 kilos of kettlebells. And don't forget, you run 1 kilometre. So there's an 8 kilometre run to be done in between all these in total. So the farmer's carry is 24 kilograms. Now, interestingly, the farmer's carry, I actually did 30 kilograms in each hand just last week, only for like 20 metres, and this is 200 metres, but I can do 24. I kind of quite surprised myself as to as to the weights, because I'm like, actually, I think I can actually do this already. Next one up is the 100-meter sandbag lunges with, I think, a 30 kilo weight. Might be 20, but I think it's a 30 kilo weight. Let me see. I actually think it's a 20 kilogram weight. The pros are doing 30 kilos. And honestly, I've been doing lunges with 30 kilos on my back anyway, so I reckon that will be fine. And then the last one is 100 wall balls. So the 100 wall balls after all of that and running 8 kilometers obviously is quite significant. So I was looking at this and I'm like, you know what? I need a challenge in my life. I need a physical challenge, something to aim for. So I signed up for one in Barcelona in March, I think it is, in about 6 weeks' time. And then I signed up for another one in Birmingham in October. So then I can compare my time in 6 weeks' time with my time in Birmingham. Now you might be wondering, Dan, what the hell are you doing? Why have you decided to do this? This is a crazy idea. And you would be right. It is a crazy idea. Let me just make this a bit bigger for you. Look at that. You can see that. There we go. Yeah, it is a bit of a crazy idea. But I figured, you know what? I need a challenge. I need a physical challenge. I've actually signed up for an Ironman this year and I've done no training. And honestly, Ironman for me, can't really be bothered doing an Ironman. I just pulled my bike out of the basement, which I've not ridden on for 6 years. So we're going to take that up and go get that serviced. And we'll get out on the bike and then we'll get down into the sea and we'll go do some sea swimming as well. I just need something to really push myself physically whilst it's still in my 50s. And so these are the things that we're actually doing. And it's like, well, Dan, why would you do something like this? And for me, it's about, let me just pull me back. For me, it's about challenging myself into doing something that I've not really done before physically. And also I want to push this body of mine at age 50. I want to push it and see how far I can push it, see how far it's prepared to go before something breaks. And hopefully nothing will break. I'm very cautious of injuries and so on. In fact, some of the workouts today at CrossFit, I pulled back on, went down to a lower weight because I didn't want to snap something. Because I want to go tomorrow and the next day and the next day. I want to keep working out. And then training for something, I go to the gym now twice a week. One's a push day, one's a pull day. And then I do CrossFit 4 days a week. And so it just gives me a nice little mix up. And the days that I do push and pull days are designed to improve my ability to get stronger. And the days to do CrossFit are then using that strength and improving my techniques to get through the workouts better. And then being able to go and test myself in a Hyrox. So that's why we did it. And so this could be quite interesting. It's also scary as hell. The first one's 6 weeks in Spain. My Spanish is dreadful, as you're probably aware. And so let's just roll the dice. Let's see what happens. Anyway, look, if you're going out there and doing something, I'd love to hear back from you. If you're doing a physical challenge, hit me up, let me know what you're doing. If you're not doing a physical challenge, if you're like, oh, I really should do something, come and hit me up as well. I want to know what you're doing. Anyway, good session today. I hope that you found that useful. We'll speak to you on the next podcast. My name's Dan Latto. Have a good day.